To Pathways Training. Today our presentation will be divided into 3 parts. First, I'm going to turn it over to my favorite Toastmaster, my husband, Storey. He's going to give you an overview of the Toastmasters educational program called Pathways, including giving you some resources that will be available to you after the meeting's concluded. Then he'll turn it back over to me, and we're going to cross our fingers that the internet works. We're going live to base camp, and I'll show you some things that you can do once you leave this meeting. And the third and final part, we'll turn it over for questions. But if you have questions in the meantime, put them in chat and we'll see if we can address them right away. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to past district governor and the love of my life, my favorite Toastmaster, Frank Storey. Frank, you're up.
Okay, good evening, high achievers and fellow Toastmasters. Welcome to our training session. As Karen said, I'm going to be doing the basic outline of what Toastmasters is all about. I built this website about in 2017 or so, and it's going to serve as our handout today. Now, since 2017, Karen and I have been Pathways ambassadors, and we've conducted between 75 and 80 training sessions, most in person, but quite a few online, as you can imagine. For the last, 6 or 7 months, we've been doing Pathways online. And when we do Pathways live, we used to do a paper handout, but we don't do that anymore. We have this is my handout for today, or my leave behind. So once this is over, you can come back and review. And more importantly, when you have a new member, you can come to this page, sit with them virtually, and go through Pathways little by little. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unveil Pathways in the most basic sense. And then I'm going to build on that and show you the whole program. Now, I'm not going to read everything on this page. You can come back here. As a matter of fact, I put the link in the chat. You can look at it later. So what I'm going to ask you to do is not think about the whole Pathways program. When you do that, you get confused because there's a lot to it. 11 paths, 63 projects over 5 levels. It could be too confusing. So what I want you to think about is that you are compare this to going to university. And here are the paths that you can choose. Or in university, you could choose what your path is called, your major, what you're going to study. So here they are. You could do coaching, planning, leadership development, motivational strategies, and so on. So if you went to a counselor in university, he or she could explain to you all the different options you have. It could be very confusing. But what you need to do is just pick one path and think about that. Don't think about the others that you're missing out on, because you can pick them up later. Just concentrate on the one path you're on. Remember that as I go through this training today. What you might not know is the paths are grouped according to, let's say, skill level. Skills learned, I mean. For example, if you really want to concentrate in public speaking, you would choose one of these 2 paths shown here, mastery or humor. Now you get public speaking in every path, but the ones that these are the 2 that concentrate on public speaking. The other 3 concentrate in some degree on leadership, light leadership, moderate leadership, or strong leadership. So if that interests you, you can check out the paths that correspond with those different skill groups. All right, so like every profession, I'm sure we have many professions online. If you're an engineer, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a cook, you're whatever, you have your own vocabulary, your own jargon, and so does Toastmasters, and so does Pathways. And you have to keep that in mind, especially when somebody new joins and they hear all this terminology they've never heard before. So I'm going to cover the most commonly heard words in Pathways. Assessment. Now, some of these Karen will actually show you, but I'm going to unveil Pathways little by little. So the first thing a new member probably hears is about the assessment. You're going to tell them you have to take an assessment. So the assessment is simply a way you can go online and help determine which path you want to choose. It's a series of responses. They put up a question or a statement and you respond to it. That's all it is. Karen will show you that. Basecamp. Everything you do in Pathways is going to be stored or kept in Basecamp. So all your records, all your Pathways records, not your personal records, that's somewhere else, but all your Pathways records are in Basecamp. So everybody in your club, and your club is a big club, I know, so every club has a Basecamp manager. People can go in and do things like approve your speeches, verify levels, track your progress, and so on. So every club has 3 Basecamp managers automatically. First is the president, next is the vice president education, and thirdly is the secretary. Normally, your Basecamp manager is the vice president education. Might be different in your club, but it has to be one of those 3 people. There's a page on the website, and as soon as you log in, called the Navigator. Karen will show you that. It's an interactive page that helps you navigate the website and tells you a lot of things about Pathways. Now, these next 3 words are the most common words. You'll hear them every time you go to a Toastmasters meeting. Levels, projects, and paths. How do I know you'll hear them every time? Normally, when you're introduced in a Pathways, for a Pathways speech, they'll say, here's Karen doing the leadership path or the coaching path. She's on level 2 doing project number 4, whatever. That's why you hear those terms all the time. There are 5 levels in every path. I'm going to show you a graph of that, a chart of that in a minute. 5 levels. You start at level 1, the most basic, called mastering the fundamentals. Then you progress to level 2, 3, 4, 5. You're allowed to skip around, but we don't recommend, at least the first time through a path, you don't skip around. Meaning right now you're allowed to go from level 1 to level 5 right away. But you should not do that because every level is built on the previous level. So the first time through, Karen and I on our 3rd and 4th time through, so we skip around a little bit. First time through, don't. Go as the program is laid out because every level is built on the previous level. Every path, you see that first sentence under projects, has 14 projects you must do while you're doing those 5 levels. Each level consists of so many projects, total of 14. Is a project a speech? No. Could be, but not every project is just a speech. Examples. Level 1, project number 2 is called evaluation and feedback. That consists of a speech, and an evaluation. All separate things you have to do with separate evaluation forms. So that's an example where it's not a speech, it's an evaluation. What if you're the table topic master? That can come under active listening. That's not a speech. Creating a blog, creating a podcast, or moderating a panel. Those are not speeches. Most projects are speeches. All right. And have a sip of coffee. What you may not know is before you're given credit for completing level 3, you must do 3 other roles. One is to be an evaluator, which you can do in level 1. One is to be the Toastmaster of the day, and one is to be the table topic master. Now there's a place, I'm going to show you right here. When you go into your Basecamp, you'll see a little gear up in the top right. Maybe it has your picture or maybe it just has a silhouette. At the top right, there's a little gear. You hover over that gear and this pop-down menu will occur and you see My Account. And then, so you follow these steps. Hover over the gear, click on My Account, select one of these meeting roles and enter the date. You do that by clicking on the calendar and just clicking on the date. It'll enter the date automatically. So as a minimum, you have to do that for Toastmaster, Table Topic Master, and Evaluator. Then when you've done those three and you finish level 3, you attempt to finish level 3, the computer will look in here and say you've done those 3 roles and will let you progress, will give you credit for level 3. So don't be too confused. Just anytime you do a meeting role, come here and put it in. You don't have to worry about it. So every time you're assigned a meeting role, come here, put the date in. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, it writes over the previous date. It doesn't save it. So every time you're Toastmaster, it just puts the latest date, or you put the latest date. Okay, I hope everybody understands that. Not all speeches are projects, not all projects are speeches. And you must do 3 roles to be given a level completion for level 3. Other terms you will hear, another term you will hear is called core competencies. This might be the only time you hear it because it's not really mentioned in Pathways again. Core competencies are skills or attributes you learn while you're doing the path. They are listed here: public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic relationship, management, or confidence. So hopefully in every path you'll become a better public speaker and more confident. There's no check marks. There's no place like this here where you go and put it in, check you are more confident. It's just a core competency that you are learning. There's no penalty if you don't become more confident, but we know you will. All right, so I mentioned a lot, but what I want to concentrate on are the 3 main terms about Pathways. And they are the paths, the levels, and the projects. So I told you before, there's 11 paths, 63 projects, 5 levels. Don't be concerned with all that. When you pick your path, all you have to be concerned with is this. This is the chart I like to show you. I'm an engineer. I love charts and graphs, so you'll see a lot of charts in my material, my webpage. So once you choose your path, the name would go here in your mind. You don't have to write this down. So then you know that your path is going to be composed or comprised of these elements. 5 levels, increasing in difficulty. You can tell that by the name. This one is just the fundamentals. This is learning more about your style, increasing your knowledge, building on your skills. And then finally, when you're on level 5, you're going to demonstrate expertise in this path. So only thing you need to think about is your path, and then you start on level 1. You'll see it. Let me go down here. You'll see a little asterisk by icebreaker. That says you have to do the icebreaker first. A few months ago, you couldn't even see any other project until you'd done the icebreaker. That's no longer true, but you need to do the icebreaker first. Then you go to project 2, project 3, and then you move to level 2. Do those 3 projects, move to level 3, and so on. Then you go over here, there's another asterisk right here. That's reflect on your path. That's the name of that path. It's the last one you have to do and you get to do. You can't even access this project until you've done all 13 projects in front of it. They won't even let you see it. But this last one is for you to do a little soul searching and come away with what you learned on all of these projects and present it to the group. So you're reflecting on your path. A little review. Here's your college majors. You get to choose from 11 majors or 11 paths in Pathways. And I'm telling you that no matter which path you choose, you have to do 14 projects spread over 5 levels. And every path has its own unique set of projects. Now they can overlap, but in total, they are unique from each other. All right, we're going to look at 3 paths to show you how they're alike and how they're different. This is my layout I came up with to show you what a path looks like. First, we start with the icon. Every path has its own icon. I'll show you my lapel pin. So when you get a certificate, this icon will appear on it, showing which path you are on or which path you have completed. They're all different. Then I show you the name of the path right here and one sentence to tell you about the path. This is just for you to review. And then I show you the levels. You see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which I told you up there. We had 5 levels. Now, what's alike? Level 1, if I showed you all 11 paths at the same time, which I will in a second, level 1 is identical. So yes, that means when you start on level 2, path 2, you have to do an icebreaker. When you do path 3, you have to do an icebreaker. When you do path 11, you have to do an icebreaker. Does it have to be the same icebreaker you did before? No. Be a little creative. So if you'll notice this asterisk right here, it says anything with an asterisk is a required project. I told you there are 14 projects. I've said that several times, spread over 5 levels. Of those 14, 10 are required and 4 are elective. So we'll mention that as we go through. Level 1, identical for everybody. Level 2, slightly different. Some elements are the same, but overall they're different. The one that's in common is Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring. Everybody has to do this project. The ones that are different are the first 2. They could be the same. You see these 2 are the same. Actually, the first one, all 3 are the same. But the middle ones are different. But they're all required. You see, they all have asterisks. So I told you there are 10 required projects. There's 6 of them right there, 3 and 3. Level 3, increasing your knowledge. Now, if you saw all 11, the one requirement is different for every path. And it relates to the name of your path. For example, when you're in university, when you're a freshman, at least in our country, everybody takes almost the same courses. Freshman year, you have to take chemistry, you have to take history, you have to take English, some kind of basic math, whatever. At least in my day, I don't know how it is today. But when you progress in university, at some point you get to choose your courses. That's true here, right here, or I shouldn't say choose them. They're laid out depending on what you're majoring in. If you're engineering, you're not going to take cake baking. You're going to take engineering classes. So it is with these paths. Your own strategic relationship, it's going to be related to that. Public relations strategies. This says strategic relationships. So level 3, the first one is required but different. Then you get to choose 2 from this list. From this list here, 2 electives. Now the electives are pretty much the same. They vary a little bit, but they're elective. So you can choose any 2 you want. And every path you pursue, you get to choose 2. Level 4, another requirement, all different. If you looked at them, all different. And choose 1 elective, whichever one of these you want. They're slightly different, but not much. Level 5, this is a required project, different for everybody. This one here, I told you, reflect on your path, is the last one. You see, it's the same for everybody. Everybody starts with an icebreaker and finishes with reflect on your path. Required by everybody. And then choose 1 elective. All right, if you counted those up, there'd be 14. 10 required, so here's 3. Here's 3 more, that's 6. 1 more is 7. 1 more, 8. 2 here, 9, 10. 4 electives. 2 here, 1 here, 1 here. That's 4. 4 and 10, 14. Now, the disadvantage of this kind of chart is you can't tell anything about the electives or required projects. You just look at the name. And you don't really know what they mean. So wouldn't it be wonderful if someone made a chart where you could click on all of these names? Ta-da! This is such a chart. The first thing you notice, it says right here, anything in yellow is going to be a required project. Just keep that in mind when you look at it. So this chart here, each path is the same as one of these, but it's going to be just laid out differently. So let's look at it. Everything on here is clickable. You see these icons? This shows you which path you're on, and here's the name. So this is the same button, actually. So let's just click on this one. So it goes back to the TI page that tells you about motivational strategies. It shows you level 1 and 2, 3, 4, and 5 with the electives. So my chart is always up to date because it goes back to the home office. So these two buttons are the same. They tell you about the overall path. This next button, the blue ones, all down, different color blue, are about, it's a definition of what is meant by mastering the fundamentals or learning your style. So when you sit with somebody and they want to know, what does that mean? So you could click on that, and here's a definition from Toastmasters about what those titles mean. You won't find this on their website. I had them send them to me. All right, and you also notice I put the name here because the name of the path, because as we scroll down, we're going to lose this part here. So you wouldn't be able to, you'd have to keep going back up to see what path you're looking at. So I put it right here. Now let's start. Anything in yellow, I told you, is a required project. You notice every one on this page, in this level, is required, and there's 3 of them. It's the same as this right here. See these 3? Right here. So every project is identical and they're all required. And you can click on, say, the icebreaker. It gives you the definition, purpose, overview, all of that of what a project, what an icebreaker does. This will help you if you haven't decided which path. Karen might mention that later. When you do the assessment, you don't have to take their advice. You can write down the paths it recommends and then come here and explore the projects. You cannot do that on the website. When you go through the assessment, you have 2 choices. Take what they recommend or take something else. They don't tell you anything about the project. And remember, until a couple months ago, you couldn't even see the other projects. So you're like buying what we call a pig in a poke. You're buying something you don't even recognize. Now you can look at every project ahead of time. So pretend you want this path, motivational strategies. You would come here. You don't have to investigate the required ones because they're required. Okay, but you could come, I mean, you don't have to investigate these level right here because every path has to take them. It's the ones you want to investigate are these that are different. So once you decide on a path, come here and investigate the projects. Read about them. Level 2, all required and slightly different. The commonality, the common thing is Introduction to Toastmasters. I mentioned that before. The rest could vary, but they're all required. Anything in yellow is required. Now you get to your major or projects that relate more to your path. At level 3, there's only 1 required project. You look, all 11 now, they're all different. Take a quick second to look at them. And then you choose any of these 2. So that's what is understanding emotional intelligence means. Here's the project. Another good thing, if you get familiar with the projects in your path, in level 2, level 3, I say don't skip around, but investigate them because if something might come up at work or in your community or whatever that might fit this as a project, so you can start thinking about it ahead of time. All right, so you can click, I'm not going to click on all these. Click on any one of these, you can get to see the electives for that level. Level 4, here's the definition. This is the required project. You notice they're all different, and you choose any one of these. You want to know how to manage projects successfully? You go there. Another reason to look ahead is some of these projects require weeks or months for you to do. So wouldn't that be nice to know you're going to have to spend a month or 2 on a project long before you get to it? I say yes. Level 5. Definition again. There's 2 required, 1 here, 1 here. This requirement is different for everyone. High performance leadership. If you don't know what that is, that's a multi-team. You have 2 teams, multi-person, over many months or weeks, where you do a project. You pick an advisory team and you pick a working team and you oversee the working team, and the advisory team manages or checks your progress. You have to report in from time to time. So you see it's a whole list of things you have to do. and it requires 2 speeches. So here's another project that's not just a speech. It's 2 speeches and lots of online meetings and teamwork. That's high performance. It's required in a few paths. The last project you have to do, and that you don't get to see it until you've done everything else, is reflect on your path. A 10 to 12-minute speech. Now, I'm just going to mention this, but Karen will go into depth on the base camp. Now, remember, when a new person comes to your club meeting, think about how confused they're going to be. They really don't know anything about Toastmasters. They know even less about pathways, and even less about base camp, and even less about meeting roles. So in my opinion, you need to sit with a new person online, maybe use this or use your own tutorial to tell them the basics. Every person will go, every time they go to a project, will go to base camp. So this will be very, very familiar. It has these white raised areas. They're all clickable links. But nowhere on the Pathways website does it tell you, that's pretty explanatory, but it doesn't tell you what these titles mean. I asked Toastmasters to send me the official definitions of what is underneath these titles you see here. So you see this icon here matches this one, and so on the titles. So this is for your review and for you to sit with somebody new. I don't know how you do with mentoring, if everybody gets a mentor or not, but if they do, sit with them several times and go through it little by little. Go through all these charts, especially. You just need to start with, making me dizzy, one of these charts. So you're just going to tell them, you're going to choose a path. You'll be required to complete 5 levels and 14 projects. You don't have to worry about it. If you just follow the outline, follow the guide, follow their procedure, you'll start on level 1 and you'll do the project. You'll move to level 2, you'll do the project. Don't try to outthink it. Don't think while you're doing this, oh, there's 49 other projects I'm not looking at. Just worry about these 3 at a time. 3, 3, 2, 3. If you want to get rid of one of your members, start here and tell them this is way too confusing for you. You should go somewhere else. That's a joke. All right. If we have time, we will return to this section right here, bonus section. I have on my website hundreds of great links and definitions that you can access if you want to. Nobody's going to make you. I don't have a tracking system. I'm working on that. Okay, so we'll come back to this, and Karen is going to dive into the actual Toastmasters website and wow you.
Thank you, Frank.
Do we want to take a question at this point or move forward?
I can tell you, Frank, one of the things that's come up in the chat is they definitely want the link to what you just showed them.
I said that earlier. Oh,
I'm going to
go. How about there?
Pardon?
How about that link right there?
Perfecto. Let's go to Toastmasters International. So I'm going to work with you right now on what I think you should start with a new member. All right. Let's get that verified. What I recently was in a discussion with a senior district officer. The senior district officer told me up until doing this training, she would tell a new member, just go do your icebreaker. You don't need to select a path. I'm going to tell you that's completely wrong. So what I tell a new member, and I just did this with a new member, we had Evelyn join our Cavaliers Club. She was effective October 1st. And once she paid her dues, I set up a meeting with Evelyn. And I went into where it says, welcome, Karen. We're going to be nice and slow today. And this is what I tell my new members, even though the first screen they see when they first join is different than this, Once they get past that onboarding screen, they will see what you just saw, and I just tell them to click where it says welcome their name, and they'll come up with this screen. So let's go to the bottom of the page. To the left, it shows you my information. These are all my sort of historical data with Toastmasters, how many members I sponsored, how many educational awards, what offices I've held. You'll see I'm enrolled in 4 paths. This is that navigator Frank mentioned. Since the internet's running a little slow for me, I'm not going to click on it. It's really a helpful page for new members that's frequently asked questions, explains about the roles in Toastmasters. So it's a really nice little guide. And for our senior members, or as what I was referred to as an old member, you can also go there and get great information. So what I did with Evelyn is I want to choose a path. Now, she's not going to see this $20 up here because she's a new member and her first path is included in her membership fee. And it's going to take you to this. Now, the first thing your member has to decide is see how this is muted out here? Your member has to decide how they want to receive their materials. Do they want it printed? There's only limited paths that are printed, or do they want it online? Evelyn wanted online. So I went to the assessment with her. Now I want you to think this is a brand new member. I didn't just say, go do an icebreaker. I told her that we need to look at the assessment first. And now she's not signed on yet. She wasn't effective yet. So we did this a couple days before her effective date. We selected English. And then I went through this and I just asked Evelyn, tell me the 3 reasons you joined Toastmasters. She gave them to me, which prompts a whole different set of questions. What's the main reason she joined? I'm not going to go, these are about 20 questions. I just want to demo this for you. So after we were done going through the questions, the 2 paths that were recommended to Evelyn were presentation mastery and planning. So let's go. I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to start a new share. I'm going to take you back to where you just were with Frank. Hold just a second. You all can see that, correct? Give me a head nod. Can you see what I'm sharing, Frank?
It's pretty large.
I want it large. People were saying it was too small. So there are 2 paths that were recommended to Evelyn were presentation mastery and innovative planning. So like Frank said, the first level is all the same. So, okay, Evelyn, they're all going to be the same no matter what you sign up for. But what we looked for is the difference in these 2 paths. And we went through each of these, like Frank said, they're all clickable. So I went through each of this with her, and we decided by looking at the requirements. Now, the electives are electives. She can pick whatever elective she wants. We went through the requirements and looked at each of these ones. Again, we skipped level 1 because it's all the same. But we started at level 2 looking at these 3 versus these 3. Then we went to the required in level 3, this versus this. And we went to level 4. This requirement versus this requirement. We went to level 5, this requirement versus this requirement. Now, the reason I did that with her, and I suggest you do this with all your new members, is when she became effective October 1st, she already had a clear idea of what path she was going to select. Let's go back to Toastmasters International. Hold on just a second. I accidentally hit leave the meeting. I don't think I meant to hit that. Let's go back to Toastmasters International. And go back to where we started. So for a new member, I take the new member, I work with the assessment, I go to Frank's page, and I actually look at each path, that the 2 that they're mostly recommended, and help the member make an intellectual decision, because you only have 30 days to change your mind. And some people don't find out they don't like their path till they get to level 3, and that's way too late. So this is going to take a little while to get me back.
Can I say something?
Sure, absolutely, love.
Actually, once you start the path, you cannot return it.
Oh, I didn't know that, Frank. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's important to me to have that new member go through the assessment, select their path. So once they join, you're not just telling them to go do a 4 to 6 minute speech about themselves. So let me go in. I know our district representative from Australia is in 5 clubs. I'm in 2 clubs. This is where you're going to decide when you go into base camp what club is you're going to be able to get badges from, send feedback to. So I'm going to start with Towson Toastmasters. That's my home club. And I'm going to launch that icebreaker. And by the end of this session, you're all going to see how valuable that icebreaker project is. So let's start at the bottom. My documents. This, I think, is to me one of the coolest things about Basecamp. Because I've been in Toastmasters, it was mentioned, since 1989. I've done quite a few manuals, have had hundreds of evaluations, and I can't tell you where any of them are till Basecamp. Now I have a place where I can come in and store all my evaluations that I've received under level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and 5. So for me, it's a historical way. And it's also a way for your vice president of education to be able to verify. I'm in 2 clubs, so I'm doing projects in several clubs. If my vice president of education wants to check to make sure I'm in fact getting those evaluations, she can do that through my documents. My badges. You're going to have some homework at the end of the day. I want you each to send a badge to a member in your club. So you can see I've got an exceptional badge from one member, and I got an inspirational badge from another. The other badges I've received are from completing levels and paths. So I've done 4 level 1s, 4 level 2s, and I'm just about to finish my 4th level 3. Please note that this blue up here is not clickable. You can click all you want on blue. It's not going to take you anywhere. You got to pull down the menus. So let's go back home. My feedback. This is where you can request feedback. I've requested, how did I do as Toastmaster? It's a speak-a-thon. And members will respond to that. Tutorials and resources. So it's 2 a.m. in the morning. You have a question. Let me make sure, wait a second, I gotta make sure you can hear my screen. I'm gonna turn you off for just a second to make sure I have it so you can hear my screen. Yeah, okay. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to call Frank, though he's usually awake. You can come here. Let's say you want to know how to complete a project. Let's put in completion of project. I'm going to do a project. Let me do that backwards. Where's my Melissa? There she is. You'll find Melissa from Toastmasters is very educational.
Hi, I'm Melissa. If you've already started working in your path, you may have noticed that Basecamp tracks your progress. But how does Basecamp know when you've completed a project? Let's take a look. You may recall that at the beginning of your project, you completed the Assess Your Skills Before activity. Once you've read through your project, finished the assignment, and given your speech, there is one last thing to do, the Assess Your Skills After activity. This is included at the end of your project, right after the Your Evaluation page. If the statements here look familiar, that's because they're the same ones you responded to in the Before assessment. You're going to rate yourself from 1 to 5 on these same statements now that you've completed the learning in the project. After rating yourself on each statement, make sure you select the Next button at the bottom of the page. If you select the arrow at the right of the page, you'll be leaving the After assessment before it's complete. Once you've selected a rating for each statement, click Submit. Basecamp will save your scores and show you a side-by-side comparison with your Before scores. When you close the project, give Basecamp a minute to refresh. As soon as it does, your project will be marked complete, and the completion percentage in your level will increase. Now you're ready to get started on your next project.
Thank you, Melissa, for the assist. Let's go back to our home. So in tutorials and resources, you can go there, type in a question, and you'll either come up with a PDF file or a video that you can watch to answer your questions. Speech evaluation tile takes you to every speech evaluation form, all 63 projects, every one of the evaluation forms. So try to get in the habit as a speaker of sending your evaluation form to your evaluator. Now let's look at the paths. So I'm running 2 paths right now. I'm doing effective coaching and team collaboration. Let's look at effective coaching. Let's go back to that level 1 and then look at this icebreaker. The great thing about this project is it's going to tell your new member how to write a speech, how to practice a speech, how to deliver a speech, and how to accept an evaluation. So no longer are we just throwing a manual at a new member. We're actually taking that new member and giving them a tool. I'm going to take it back to the very beginning, giving them a tool that they can use for not only the rest of the projects in Toastmasters, but it gives them a format that they can use when they do work-related projects or community-related projects. So this will be your assignment is to deliver a speech about yourself. But as you go through this project, you'll find there's that assessment Melissa was just talking about. It'll give you some more information about not only how to navigate through pathways, but it shows you videos of other people that have done their icebreakers. It gives you a speech outline form. Again, you can use this for other projects. So if you're just telling your member, hey, it's a 4 to 6 minute speech about yourself, you're missing actually having them launch the project first, go through each page in the project, because they're learning a skill that they're going to be able to use from here on out. So it's not just about a 4 to 6 minute speech. It's about learning how to write a speech, and how to deliver that speech. Okay, that sounded a little strong, but that's your icebreaker. And cool, again, when I joined Toastmasters in 1989, I was given a manual and said, hey, if you have questions, call somebody. This way, your member at their own time, at their own pace, can learn this information. So that's your icebreaker. I'm going to exit out of here. I keep having to move you around and go back to my curriculum. All right. So other things Frank told you. He told you that in level 5, you don't see that reflect on your path. That will not show up in my path until I've completed all the requirements and all the electives in the 5 levels. Once I've done, in fact, I'm just got 2 more speeches to do in this particular path and I'll finish. I'm doing my high performance leadership talk in November and my coaching talk in October. That reflect on your path will then appear to you. So that is not even accessible until you have done all the other 13 requirements. Now, other things I want to show you. So again, let's go back home. You don't have to always go home. I just am a person that gets into habits, and that's one of my habits. Frank mentioned this little gear here. Hover over it, and it will take you to that place where Frank told you you can store your latest thing. So I was just general evaluator at my club meeting on October 2nd. So we can update that together. And you'll see that as you do, now this is not historical. This will just show you the latest one that you've done. So these are the positions that I have done in the last couple months. Let's go back home.
Don't forget to save when you do that.
Oh, don't forget to save when you do that. Let's send some feedback to somebody. Let's send some feedback to, let's see, Elizabeth is a member of our club. She has been instrumental in helping us become an online Zoom meeting. So you'll see some feedback that has gone to Beth. So this is a way that you can provide feedback to your member after the club meeting has finished, and also provide a badge to your club member. So for Beth, we've provided quite a few badges. So here I am back at my pass. Let me go back here. I want to show you one more thing, and then I'll turn it over for questions. Right here, you can go back to where we started. So that'll take you back to that page with the 3 tiles on it. At its leisure today. So that's a way that you can return to the main menu, so to speak. And let's go back into pathways. And this is one thing that I've learned because I'm not very computer savvy. You really can't break it. If you click something and just, but go back. Right here is a list of, these change every day. You can also scroll through them. These are videos that you can watch. Some of them are from past world champions. It'll tell you what they did to win their championship. This one is just basically telling you about the new base camp. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing. I got to stop saying that. That sounds so selfish. I'm going to stop showing you my screen, and I'm going to open it up for questions. So what questions do you have regarding pathways? Or engineering? Frank will take their engineering questions too if you want to know about radar on planes.
Yeah, any radar questions, let me know. And I'll go back to my homepage if no questions.
Okay, let's give them a minute to think of their questions. And if not, we don't have any questions, Frank will go back to that bonus and show you some of the bonus material that he's added to his website. I have a question, all right? I'm not even going to attempt the name. It's Prabhakara. You're on mute. If you could unmute yourself, we'll take your question.
If we don't update
am I audible?
speeches and feedbacks regularly in the portal, we cannot complete the pathways particular one. Any pathways?
I'm sorry, I was getting 2 questions at once. So I'm going to start with the CHAN name. If you could give me your question, then I'll come back to the other gentleman.
Whenever we give speeches or projects, we should regularly update the evaluation and all those into the portal. Then only we can attempt the level 5, because some of us may not be updating, but we are giving speeches. Is it okay, or it is a?
You're not required to upload to the website. That is not a Toastmasters requirement. It's sort of a Toastmaster advantage you have that you can do that. I know
think he said update.
I thought he said upload.
Upload. Okay.
Upload.
No.
Okay. You don't have to upload it, but I would recommend you do, because if you're in multiple clubs and your VPE wants to verify that you've done the work in a level, and let's say you've done that at another club, it's one way your base camp manager can go in and verify that you've done the work. For me, it's just a convenience. I know where all my evaluations are stored. So my protocol is, when I'm done my project, I immediately upload my evaluation form. And I, again, recommend you take advantage of that. Now, I had another question from the name there. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The badges that are there, earlier you used to write it by hand. If you see in a club meeting, small sheets, in the small sheets, we used to appreciate or give some sort of a feedback. Now that it is not there, more so in online meetings, now we have to do it right away when we have that kind of feature in the website. Now, how are you making it as a part of the habit for a particular club, more so, as I said, in the online meeting? How do you develop that culture in a particular club of putting the badge and the feedback online?
For one, you got to make sure all the members know how to do it. So one of the things I did at Towson Toastmasters, Towson is a 60-year-old club who did not want to do pathways. And we always did those little pieces of paper that perforated and set notes around. It's just a matter of educating them. And what I did is I started just a protocol when somebody did something great in the club of sending them a badge. And guess what? It started becoming more and more frequent where members would do that with each other. It's just about making sure members know how to do it and know that it's replacing what we used to do with those little pieces of paper.
You don't have to send a badge every time. You can just send a note like the
You
guy
can just send
talking.
feedback. Yeah, you can just send feedback or a badge. You had to send a badge by itself. You can send feedback by itself. You can send both. But for me, it's about making sure I do it. So what I started doing is being the person to demonstrate that. So at the end of each meeting, I'd make comments to all the members that spoke. I did it at the end of the speak-a-thon last week. I've made notes to every member. You'd be surprised how when you get somebody that's doing that, how it becomes just habit for everybody. So for me, it's about creating a habit of doing it and demonstrating it to the other members. So start doing it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, Frank and Karan, this is Ranjit here. This is my first session about pathways. Thanks for your explanation. So what I understand, there is each path have 5 different scenarios over a 14 project. And my question is, to achieve a DTM status, should we need to complete more than 2 or 3 paths, or what is the criteria for DTM in pathways?
Well, the educational side is 2 complete paths, but to be a DTM, you need to do other things outside of pathways.
Okay.
You need to be a district officer. You need to be a club officer. You need to mentor a club. And there's another requirement. It's slipping my brain. I know it's youth leadership, speechcraft, and something else. So there's other things you have to do to get the DTM credit, but the educational side is 2 completed paths and a DTM project.
Okay.
Which is
Got it.
similar to a high performance leadership project, but it's just slightly different.
Thank you.
So here you have a question about the elective projects. Do you want to go? Do you have a mic or do you want to type it into chat?
Yeah, I can speak. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Good morning and good evening. My query was about the elective projects in each level. So if I want to focus on communication, is there a preferred set of electives that I would choose from versus having a focus on leadership?
Absolutely. In fact, I just went through this with my new member, Evelyn, who really wants to focus on presentations. There's electives on body language, on dealing with difficult audiences, handling questions, and how to answer questions in front of an audience. So absolutely, when you get to those electives, look for things that are going to be related to communication. You'll find them about even with leadership. So absolutely, there's electives that can help you with that.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
I know the timer flashed me a timer card. So
I want to show my page before we finish.
Frank is going to we promise, because I think, Frank, I'm getting a timer's card that we're going over time. I'm going to turn it back to Frank. He's going to show you that bonus section. And please, 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 if you have questions, you can email either one of us. Whatever, we want to help you be successful in pathways. So Frank, quickly go through your bonus session so we can turn it back over to them.
Well, I'm going to skip the bonus. I want you to email me and I'll send you a list of important links and answer any questions you might have. But I want to show you the homepage of my tutorial. Just explain give me 2 minutes. These icons here are the most frequently visited pages. So when you set with a new member, you can start on this page right here where it says start, and then go through step by step about pathways. I'm not going to go through all of it. It'll tell you every definition, everything, little by little. So do that with a new member. I just want to show you a couple links. The one we use today is right here. I've put it in the chat earlier. This is the one we use today. One of the most important for a new member would be this link. I'll send it to you. Here's a very simple, more simplified chart of your pathways journey. Here's your path, the levels. It has a little more detail. But here, I told you when you join, you don't know anything about pathways, Toastmasters, meeting roles, and so on. So when they hear these terms, timer, counter, and so on, they don't really know what you're talking about. So I have developed here, these are PowerPoint presentations on every meeting role. I'm just going to show you one. These are all the words came from Toastmasters. They're not my words. This is the official way to do it. You may do it slightly differently, but this is the official way. Here's the timing rules. One of the great things here is the timing light, the traffic light. So you just click on the segment of the program, table topics, then you click the timer start, and you'll see green, yellow, red. So the point is, come to this page. I'll put this in the link in a second in the chat. And this will, you can sit with them and go through what each of these meeting roles is all about. These others are just helpful links. I'm not going to mention them. I told you there are 500 terms. Here they are, alphabetically. For example, here's all the evaluation forms in fillable PDF form. There's one right here, active listening. So you know where to find these when you get ready to be a speaker. All 63 projects are shown on this link. So if you email me, I don't want to go through the chat and get all your emails. Email me directly. I will send you extra information. And in the future, if you have a question, you can contact either one of us. If you contact me, sometimes I'm talking to Karen, sometimes I'm not. Depends on the day. So I might pass your message on or not. If I can't answer it, I'll pass it on.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Frank.